Wait, are you
I
adjusting the microphone? Because I'm seeing as you play with it. Are you playing with microphone volume right now?
no.
What the fuck?
We are live though.
Oh my god! Whoops! I just watched my input go up and down and up and down. I'm watching my microphone properties here, literally watching a slider move on its own like it's possessed.
Yeah, dude, you know how these live streams go with me. Nothing ever goes 100%, right?
Well, look, it doesn't matter as long as my volume is right. Then I'll be okay.
All right.
Okay, good.
I guess as people are joining, cheers everybody. I got there's only hot chocolate in this mug, nothing special. It's a little too early even for me. However, water for you or booze?
Gin tonic for me. It's just gone 5 p.m. So cheers to everybody in Eastern European Standard Time.
Nice. I'll be catching up with you soon. So I guess the software setup is the most boring part because I just drop a file on a SD card, right?
It's just the core. You just
So where would I put it? Would I put it under? Does it really matter, or do I just put it under utilities?
I just put it on utilities. It doesn't matter, but it's just another core that acts exactly very, very similar to the NES core because that's all it is.
Okay. Hey, what's up, Justin? How's it going, man? I keep meaning to catch up with you. We always do that, though. We have a good chat and a good plan, and then I fuck off for a couple of weeks, and then come back around to whatever we talked about.
There we go. Oh, here we go. We've seen the live stream on RGB. RetroRGB. There we go. I can follow the chat too. Beauty. Yeah, there's Justin. I see everyone. Thor C, Cowboy 1, Pad, String Deval. Oh, yeah. Shout out. Got that Central European time up there in Stockholm, baby. You're 1 hour behind or ahead. I don't know. Whatever it is. Thanks for joining in. Sinan, yeah, I do often, with this tool that we're lag testing with, I do usually just make a Google sheet. So let's see how we go today. But I certainly keep spreadsheets of my data.
Yeah, and so the thing that we're going to be testing today, which is what really pushed me to do it, is the Behar brothers came out with this very cool Supergun. And I tested it on stream. The only thing I didn't do on stream was I guessed that the audio was safe based on their previous design and me eyeballing it. And then after the stream was over, I went back and got a scope capture and proved I wasn't full of shit. It was actually safe. So this is as safe of a Supergun as humanly possible. No Supergun is truly safe. That's the nature of the beast, but it has nothing to do with the Behar brothers. However, what I didn't test, which I figured now is the time to finally do this, is their PlayStation 1 controller to Supergun adapter. Okay. So I'm going to plug this sucker in just to make sure everything's working. We're still getting HDMI out and all of that, test the core, and then Lewis is going to walk me through how the heck to do it. I did check with Pork to make sure that we could use the Mister Cade to do this, and he said yes, absolutely. So
yeah, I guess this will work. I hadn't expected that, actually, for it to come through I've only just used a PS1 to USB adapter, then USB into the Mister, but the jammer should work as well. All it is a specially modified NES core, and any time it receives a button press. So you have to map the button. As long as you can map the button in the menu like normal, any button press it receives, it fires off a signal down the general I/O port. And that's what the Arduino picks up and says, haha, I've got a round trip. I can calculate this now.
Yeah.
So in theory, sure.
NES lag tester is the core I just loaded. And this is what it looks like, right?
It's a regular core. Yep. It's just a regular core.
Then what would I load to do the testing?
Okay, so so again, map the button that will be pressed.
Okay. I'm going to go with square because it's probably going to be easiest on this PlayStation controller that I have. So let me...
Is it so? Remember, I was saying, Bob, the shoulder buttons. But does PlayStation have any shoulder buttons like that?
They do.
They do.
Do you think that was easier? The shoulder buttons?
Shoulder buttons were easier because they've usually got like a physical pressy button there or something like that. See what you've got. Anyway, look at the PCB, because this is the thing. Sometimes you have to open it up to look at the PCB and go like, oh, that's the best button to solder onto. and then you've got to plug it back in and map that button. Where'd Bob go?
Okay, so I picked the right trigger and square. So everybody in the chat, remember that, because when I forget it in a minute, I'm gonna have to remap these damn things. Okay, so those are the two, and then anything else I need to do here before we start to plug stuff in?
No, the only thing to keep in mind now is to remove the on-screen display. Just have the gray, and that's all it has to do. There's nothing more to it.
Okay, I'm gonna drop this back down to this view. And I guess we could just power... no, we don't need to power this off because we're just taking the controller apart, not the whole setup.
Yep.
So, all right.
Do you know, has that Arduino already been flashed with the correct software? Probably.
Pork sent it to me. So Pork has seen where these live streams go. So I can't imagine he would have left it up to me.
Sure. I imagine it's flashed as well. I'm going to go for that one. So now you got to open up the PS1 controller.
Right. Let's see if this handy dandy little electric screwdriver is going to do the trick, or if I need something longer.
So this is the one true drawback of this method. And until someone invents something crazy different, this is always going to be it. We need to solder onto a button in the controller.
So what I was trying to do was to try to make some kind of project where it basically is just... It's kind of like, do you remember Jan from Consoles for You did that controller test kit?
Sure.
I was trying to get him to do something sort of like that, so that you plug, let's just say, a PlayStation controller into his kit, and then it maps out all of the pins, so then you could just connect the pin, whatever pin you want to it. And that would also work for LED lag testing. And he said he was going to swing back and look at that, but he was also afraid that that would be even less of a use case than his current lag tester. So we'll have to see. But I think that's an idea that's worth doing.
Wait, I don't get your idea, Bob. So this would be a separate dongle that the USB controller plugs into? Or what?
So Jan from Console for You has this controller test kit where if you buy the whole thing, it even comes in a really awesome carrying case and all that stuff. And what it allows you to do, it's really meant for people that own game stores, whether virtual or brick and mortar. But that way, whenever you get used controllers in, you plug them into this thing and you plug in whatever module you know that matches. So PlayStation would be plug into PlayStation adapter, and then that would immediately fire up this little device, and you could test all the buttons. But on those little adapters that because you know each there's a main unit that actually does the processing, and then there's all the subunits for each controller. So I was thinking of having those subunits have just pads or pins or hooks or whatever on there, so you could solder LEDs to it, or maybe in this case, you know, you could have the button press come through, so you could measure latency this way. And he said he was looking into it. So,
but Bob, you know I love you. So to point out the difficulty with that idea, and help me if I'm wrong here, is that if you do it at the other end of the controller, you've bypassed the circuitry inside of the controller. And that's really what we're trying to test here, is what's happening from all the way from physical button press to coming out the other side of a USB, essentially.
So my idea was for LED lag testing. Right, so when you press the button, the LED lights up.
But even that, it doesn't count in. Like, what if the controller...
Oh, if it's a wireless controller. You're right. I'm a twat. Good. Sorry.
That's all right. Or what if any controller does? You know, what if...
See, this is why I talk this stuff out.
It's good. It's good. And it's why this project is hard. Because you need to open it up like you are, find a reasonable solder point, solder onto it, and it will never be quick or easy.
Okay, so I'm assuming the three cables here are signal, signal, and ground. I have a brand new multimeter that, hold on, let me...
Right, but that's not the end of the... You want to be on the button, so it's actually the button being the ground and the button signal, not at that end of the chain.
No, if it's right here on the separate PCB, this would be the button, right?
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Sorry, that thing.
By the way, anybody that watched my other stream, my multimeter died, and then the yellow one I had from the year 2000 was reading over a volt off, and I bought this one for $13 on Amazon, and so far, so good. That was, I was talking to Voltar about that, and his whole thing was, for what I do, having this where one dies every couple of years. So, it's basically like $5 a year to own one of these versus a $200 fluke. That's, bit different. So he said, just try this for now and see what I got.
So essentially, even your multimeter has a yearly subscription on it. It's $5 a year.
Yeah, if you got to buy one every 3 years, then sure. I would have assumed that the black wire was ground, but
I don't know why 3. I mean, I guess is that trigger a? No, it's not analog, that trigger. So why 3? Why do you need 3? You just need.
I guess I'll just test every pin, whichever one matches.
So, see, when you don't have a button on the controller that clearly sticks up and clearly has a good bit of metal to solder to, then this project does become a little bit harder.
Nope, middle one's ground.
Okay. 3. So the middle one's ground. Is there 2 buttons in the trigger?
Yes.
Is that why there's 2 wires? Right. Sorry. Okay. Well, then that makes more sense.
So that would mean that if I hold this up to the middle and hold it up to this other pin and press the button down, we should get a button press, right?
One would imagine so, yes. If ground and the signal go together, then that's a button press because you're pressing the button, which usually is forming a little gap or plugging a little gap in the circuit board so things suddenly connect, and then we get a button press.
Damn it, I need a third arm. Giggity.
Oh! Everyone in the chat's talking about that we've got a Scandinavian discussion that's fired up about those Bang & Olufsen CRTs, which we know Martin has plenty of in Denmark. But he's got no freedom and he's got socialism, but he's got plenty of Bang & Olufsen CRTs.
Nice. Saw Steve joined us. What's going on, dude? Okay, so on this kit right here, I'm going to just go right ahead and say that red is signal and black is ground.
Probably, but again, that's another one where if you don't get no signal, I'm going to be asking you to swap those over. But sure.
All right. The only other thing I could do, because the PlayStation controller is actually not too hard to take apart. It's not nearly as bad as others. But could do it here. Yeah, that's probably going to be easier. So let me...
Right, because there's no big buttons. There's no big
I don't have to put the soldering iron next to a piece of plastic that's going to melt.
That's true. Now, I understand, Bob, in my original video, when I showed off the technique of drilling through the PCB, I was possibly too direct and too enthusiastic.
No, in the context of what you did and to the controller you did it to, that was completely and totally okay. It's only when you start to get to multi-layer PCBs would that not have been a good idea.
That is very true.
So... checking.
Okay.
Middle. To middle. Good. Why are we not beeping? Beep, damn it.
Oh.
All right, and then 1 to 1. And I guess I could just try the... Yeah, I mean, that should all be fine. I could probably just double check by pushing on this thing to map it.
What's that? So what's in your hand? Sorry, Bob?
This is just the rubber thingy.
Oh, yes.
So if we go back in...
Yeah. So I've done a lot of that, which is forgetting that I need to map the button and then putting it all back and then sort of pressing the button, that rubber thing to the circuit board to make a button press.
NES button. So we really only need the one button, right?
Correct. Any button will do, as long as it's mapped.
Skip. I guess you can't skip left, right, down, up, so, all right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's annoying, right? Because you've got to get the rubber piece out and do rubber left, rubber down, rubber right, rubber up. Rubber odd, remember, kids? Oh!
Oh, you know what? It was on the wrong side. What a dork. All right.
But why did you need to remap it? What's the... Oh, because you found a different button.
Because I just want to make absolutely sure we're using the one that I'm using.
Yeah, okay.
Up. So right here, we can solder right to this board if I just use A, and then that's it. We're done. So I'm just going to use A, and that's it. So we're out of here. So now all I got to do is solder to it, which is super easy.
Okay, you've got some nice solder points. That's good. Because I guess, yes, the people can see my one. So what I was working on while you're doing that, what I was working on this afternoon was PlayStation 1 to USB controller adapters. So I was essentially lag testing this PlayStation 1 arcade stick, which I'm fairly sure has no lag. It's just a PlayStation 1 controller. So it, I presume, has no lag. So then by lag testing this, but then changing the different PlayStation to USB adapters, I'm able to lag test each of those. So in my video, I've put 2 wires to the underside of this circuit board. And that's how the Arduino is firing off a button press that will be sent into the custom Mister Core, then outputs a signal down the weird I/O port of the Mister back into the Arduino, calculates a round trip time. Ugh.
All right, so let me just check for continuity, because I very purposely, for one of the only times in my life, did not do a good job soldering these on, because I want to be able to take them off real easy.
Right, it's a pretty annoying part of this mod, having to open it up, solder on, find a good point to solder on, and then you don't want to wreck it too much still. I mean, even though it's all under the surface.
Okay. We should be okay. So
okay, good.
We have this plugged in. Now, where does this plug in? And I don't even know what this other little thing he does over here.
All right, sorry, but I can't see the things. It's a bit far away. What is what thing and what thing?
Maybe I could try...
Oh, yeah, that thing, I didn't know what it does. And I wasn't sure what it was meant to do. It looked like when you put an analog I/O board, or when you put a USB board onto a Mister, that it connects up that, but I didn't know what that bit did.
Yeah, might be for something else. So if we don't need it at the moment,
maybe leave it out for the moment. So the 2 wires with the little white plug on the end, they're going to the controller, and they're going to plug into the main unit there. That bit's cool. Okay. So the only thing is, I wish that in your setup, that little wires with the white plug was longer. That'll make your day much easier. But you could still do it. Everything's just a bit closer.
And this Arduino kit plugs into the snack port, right?
Yes. So wait. There's 2 micro USBs on that board, right?
Yes.
I suspect it's the other one.
So there's a mini USB and a micro USB.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. I suspect the Arduino itself, you can see there's one that's on the Arduino itself, right?
Yes.
That goes to your computer.
Okay. And the other one goes to the snack port.
Yes.
I didn't realize it needs to get plugged into the PC as well.
It does that because that's how you get the data out. So we're going to open up a Putty window, and Putty's going to connect directly to that COM port, basically where the USB is, and start just reading off the signals that are coming down it. Do you have Putty installed?
I will in a minute.
I'm going to keep doing my one here. Thor says, does anyone know if a snack adapter for Saturn exists? No such thing exists yet, because as the core is still in a work in progress, it would be very difficult as the specifications.
Or even
change
worse,
all
you
the time.
might have a product out that would then be obsolete by the time the core leaves beta or leaves alpha and hits public beta.
Absolutely.
All right, so Putty is installed.
Cool.
Where do we go from here?
So, okay, so we've got there one cable is going into the snack port of the IO, and the
Yes.
other one is going into your computer.
Yes.
All right.
And just to double check, we're still just at the gray screen on the
Yep.
other one. So
Cool,
okay.
cool. So now you're gonna load up Putty.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you say let's see, we've got the next screen says basic options for your Putty sessions. Is this the little Putty configuration window you see?
Yes.
Cool. So what you want to do is click connection type serial.
Okay.
Serial, yep. COM4. I don't know, it's always COM4 for me. And then the speed can be instead of that speed, put 115200. Cool. Now that should be enough. So what you can do is click save there. So you can write like write like lag test into the save sessions. Yep. And then click save, and that will save you some time. Because we'll do this now, because the other thing that I do, Bob, is redirect the output to a log file. And that's where I get the CSVs from, because the CSVs just show up in the window.
Okay.
So that might also help as well. So actually, session logging.
On the session logging, okay.
Yep. And just select a file somewhere, something. Make it something.csv. It's going to be easier later. Oh, yeah, baby. Those walls. I've got... Wait. Before you that, click a session logging, click all session output.
Okay.
Yeah. Now open. Now remember to click save on your...
Unable to connect to COM4. So what I'm probably going to have to do is go into my device manager just to double check what communications port that one's on.
Okay, let's have a look. Sure. Because...
It's COM3 or 7.
Oh, I don't know how I found COM4. That's a good point. Maybe it was my computer.
Let's try it. So we have session logging.
Yeah, wait. You've got to update the logging, then you've got to save the profile again. I know, it's real dumb. See, that's why your log file is back to whatever.
Mr. CSV. Okay, then go to session.
There, save, yes.
So logging's still there, So serial, COM2. What was the number again?
115200.
Nope. So if it's not COM2, let me try COM7. Weird, but if that doesn't work, I will share my screen so we could show so I could show you exactly how I'm trying to get these numbers. But
sure.
So load.
So when we plug the Arduino into the PC, it usually gets exposed via COM something, one of the COM ports. But we cannot find it for Bob.
Okay, so a few things here. This USB serial device is how I figured out what this was, because I don't have a COM7. Most people don't. So when I plugged in the Arduino, that appeared. So all you would have to do is just refresh your device manager. Still don't know what this unknown device is, and I don't ever want to talk to ASUS's support again, so it's just going to sit there and stare at me every time I open it up. And that is what the Putty window now looks like.
Okay, yep, you're coming. So,
This says starting with an exclamation point, and that's it.
Right, that's it. So usually, you get... Like if the program is at least running, but it can't do a button press or whatever, it usually says read, write. And we don't see that. Okay. Okay, let's refresh again. So we're going to close that window, unplug the Arduino, and plug it back in and try again.
Okay, well, if I'm going to do that, then I would like to show the device manager.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just clicking on Device Manager. We see we got ports, COM, and LPT. I'm going to unplug this sucker. And COM7 disappears.
Okay,
so if you open up ports, COM, and LPT, and you plug this sucker in, COM7 appears, was not there before. That's how you figure out what your communications port is. Switch this over to Putty.
Just to Mut on chat, thanks. He was shouting out that he liked my 4x3 LCD video. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
There we go. Back to the Putty config window. Cool. All right. So go back to load.
Yep.
And this
load.
is 115200.
That's the correct speed. No, that's okay. But remember, COM is whatever 7. Yeah.
7. Yep.
Now click save again. Click save on the thing. So yeah. Now we're good.
Logging is still the correct one.
Wait.
Oh, all session output. All right.
There we go. Save. Okay.
So I'm going to close this and reopen it then, because I'm never going to remember this, and I'm going to have to go back and watch this this thing all over again. All right.
Load.
COM7 serial on that 115200, logging all sessions, logging P. All right, open. I'll switch this over to. Still says starting.
I'm starting to wonder, is this Arduino actually flashed with the actual homebrew software or not? I don't know does anyone in the chat know what an Arduino does when you plug it into a computer down the USB line by default?
Well, it wouldn't hurt to reflash it, right?
I guess so. Hopefully it's the same firmware. I imagine so.
Do you have it?
Sure, it's the same one on his website. So let's go.
I probably should have added that to to the chat. Okay. All right, so I'm getting a Windows installer. The Arduino IDE is a massive pain in the ass the first time you use it, and then fine after that. It's the same thing you use to program your GBS control, as well as probably a ton of other things. So I'm just going to install that real quick.
Yeah, in the GitHub, in the input latency project, there is a Arduino folder, and it's got the Arduino file. So it shouldn't take you too long.
Would you mind dropping that in the chat?
Sure.
And I could also update the description.
Am I allowed to post into chat? Why am I not? Okay, one more.
Or just in the
Yeah. Wait. I think I don't know how to use Windows.
Yeah, you're a mod, so you could actually drop that right into the YouTube one if you wanted to.
Right, there we go. So I've dropped it straight to the YouTube chat. Yeah. So everyone who's watching, that is. Oh, hey Thor. This monitor that I've got, this Dell, the 19s and the 20s, all 5 milliseconds. I have determined that with a time sleuth. This is the 20-inch model, 5 milliseconds, or even 4, like under. And I have a bunch of the 19-inch Dell ones that are really common from workplaces, like really, really common that people had years ago. So there's loads of them around. They're all 5 milliseconds as well. So in general, these late model Dell LCDs, really good response time.
The Arduino is still installing. It takes absolutely forever for anybody that's ever done that.
The Arduino, you mean it's uploading into the Arduino?
No, just installing the software.
Oh, okay. You didn't have it. Oh,
there it is. Okay.
Oh, in the chat again, Mutmut, you have the Ezio 21-inch. Is that the 4x3 that you have? Because Ezio are a great brand of monitor that I think they're not as well known as a big Dell or something like that, or even like people in monitors know that Ezio made good professional monitors, but there's not many of them around. So I'd love the 21-inch 4x3 model.
Maybe the problem was that the full Arduino USB driver wasn't installed.
Oh. Could be. Hard to say.
Well, you know what then? Let me just try Putty one more time. and just boot it real quick and see.
Because also it's interesting that you got the thing that said starting exclamation mark, which seems more like some default thing that Arduino might do.
Yeah, now it's not really doing anything. It's just kind of sitting there on the... Yeah, now it's just kind of sitting there.
Wait, what did you try to do right now? Sorry, did you try to run the lag test?
I just loaded up the software again.
Oh, okay.
But you know what?
Also,
it's probably best that we do this. So
anytime you want to do the lag test or almost anything, I reset the Arduino.
Okay, so it is unplugged from the Mister. The USB cable is only connected to the little Arduino thingy on top. Plugging the sucker back in.
Okay. So you got the Arduino IDE open there? Yeah, there we go.
Smaller so we could all see it.
Oh, they're still downloading, installing. Oh, okay.
All right, so, oh man, we have to first check to see if our port COM7, okay, and then, oh man, upload.
I can't see when you have a little pull down menu. We don't actually get to see that.
Ah, for fuck's sake! All right,
doesn't matter, I guess.
It's sketch and upload, right?
Yeah. After you've selected the board, and then there's something else. No board.
Oh, you have to add file first.
Oh, you gotta load the thing. So no board selected. Okay.
Tools. Board. Which board is this? Arduino Nano?
Yeah, just a second. I'm loading my version to see as well. But
16-bit SPY, thank you very much. It's been over a year since I've used any Arduino software, so if you see me make a mistake, please jump in, because I'm definitely going to be making a mistake.
okay. Arduino Nano. This is a Pro Micro. Sorry, I know I was off there trying to.
It's Arduino Pro Micro?
Yeah. If you look at the bottom, very bottom of the board, the opposite end of the USB, it says on my one, it says it there. It's very hard. It's hard to sort of see your screen or work out what you're doing right now.
We don't have it here.
Okay, Arduino Leonardo.
Okay, hold on. Yes.
Yes, choose Leonardo. And you have to go after the board, then you've got to go down to port and then choose your COM port.
I think I gotta restart this software real quick. That was my fault. All right, plugging it back in.
Okay, we're reloading Arduino. We have a slightly different. Oh no, almost. So tools. Yeah, there you go. So Arduino. There it says it right there. Arduino Leonardo.
Arduino Leonardo COM7. Beautiful. Right. Okay. So then we go to add file.
Yep.
And
basically opening the source code file.
I know. And then verify and then upload. So verify, done compiling, upload.
Oh. Have you actually got it open? Because we don't see it on our screen here.
No, I mean what you're seeing in OBS is what I'm seeing here.
Okay, because I still see sketch nov 15.ino. I don't see the actual file opened.
You don't? Let me check YouTube. No, that's what I'm seeing, unfortunately.
Okay, so you got to go File, Open, and then find the file that's in the GitHub download. Huh.
Okay, that was the issue. Let me change this over.
I feel like you've set to only share Firefox or Chrome or whatever it is, because anytime you open a drop-down or an Explorer window.
Yeah, I didn't share the entire window, which is or I probably should have just shared the whole desktop, but sometimes it gets cluttered and I got a 4K monitor, so all right.
So here we go. This is the code. This is the code that sits on the Arduino.
So that was the mistake that I made, and not sketch add file, but file open is how you start.
Right.
Well, actually, how you start is picking the correct board, which I skimmed over. So all right. So now that we have that, now I could go to verify and then upload. Correct?
Yep. Yeah. Sorry, because I can't see the extra presses you're doing. I couldn't see what you were doing wrong. Cool. So this is the code that sits on the Arduino, and it
says done uploading, and even though the text is red, it still worked. So
yeah, I can't see anything bad in the text. Device code, it worked. Found programmer, maybe just likes red text, even though I agree with you. Red usually means bad. So let's try it again. So you're going to unplug the Arduino USB, plug it back in, then open a new Putty window.
Okay. Okay, so then we just go into load.
Yeah.
Serial 115, logging, all that. Okay.
Nice.
Yes. Okay. All
right, so we're getting closer. So read, delay is the correct thing. So what it basically does is the Arduino loads up, and it waits for you to make a connection. Then it starts, once you make the connection, starts firing off button presses. But when it does this, it usually means that you've got your ground wire and active wire messed up on the controller.
So reverse them.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, I'm just going to leave everything up because I think I'm in the right spot to do that. So
you're going to have to solder unsolder, or does that white plug go inverted?
I'm just going to unplug it from the main board and then
sure, change the wires as they solder on. Nice. I've learned to just, when I get a result like that, swap the contacts. It's like a USB. You stick it in 5 times and eventually it ends up working.
All right, so that red doesn't necessarily mean ground then.
Right. Yeah, Pork implied to me that it could change on a per controller basis, so it's good to not think of like red is always the active one. You just try it, nothing happens, swap them.
Oh, good tip.
Because my 2 wires are, it's a little bit tricky to see on the stream, but my 2 wires are screwed into my Arduino, so it's easier just to unscrew and then screw back in. Yeah, I've got.
Making sure there's no shorts before I plug it back in.
Huh. So you can see, yeah, you've still got everything plugged in, and your Putty window has actually registered a few button presses, probably where along the way you've just sort of touched it together.
Yeah, something's up. Something's up. I'm going to undo this real quick.
So again, the trickiest part of this project for everyone watching is soldering on. If you don't have a good button to solder onto, like a shoulder button or a clicky button or something with a bit of metal, it can be tricky to get to solder onto that point. Like, did you just scrape away? Is there actually a wire for you to solder onto, Bob, or just scrape away solder mask?
No, there's it's a through hole wire that goes up into it. So it's actually that's why I chose this exact location, because it's much easier.
Okay.
So let me.
Yeah, I don't know if we could sort of design a solution that's got clips maybe, but every connection is a little bit different. And I do wonder what it must be like to open up like one of those PS5 controllers and just, I imagine you open it up and just boing, 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 and springs go everywhere. And I wouldn't know where to connect up to, and it looks complicated.
Yeah, I feel like you would have to buy a broken PS5 controller and use it only for this and nothing else.
Yeah, maybe. I know that's already being done, so we don't have to do that. Thankfully, it's the more obscure controllers that are left.
Well, if you want to test any of the newer stuff out there or verify tests, then you would actually have to redo it. So.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Sure, and that's a big part of verify. So, okay, so some results are starting to come through. Bob, I think what you should do is follow
reset
the
it all.
Yep. Shut down Putty. Yep.
Okay.
Oh. Huh. Hey, there's also something. Let's keep on going. But I forgot as well that in the Mister settings, one of the Mister settings is USB fast polling. And when you enable that, it should enable 1,000 millisecond polling of the USB port. So it's going to be interesting. Since you're ready to go, let's run these tests now. And then straight after, I'm going to get you to go to settings, run USB fast polling on. We're going to rerun them and see if that made any difference.
Okay. So, load serial logging this, open. Oh, ha, I'm going to plug the fucking USB cable back in, you moron. Here we go. Load, speed, 115,200. Okay, that's good.
So something's coming down there, right?
Yes.
So what we're seeing, the number on the left is like the count, and the number on the right is the milliseconds. Now, the thing that is worrying me right now is...
It's all over the place.
Actually, but I'm seeing like 20s, 25s. Like, you know what I mean? Like, certainly the data will show us, but it certainly looks like you're seeing a lot of 20s, 25s, something like that. Meaning, really? 25 milliseconds? That's a lot. Is that what that hardest does? That's more than a frame.
Okay. I'm opening that CSV file.
Sure. If the Putty is still running, then it's going to be still filling up. So you want to stop Putty and then open it. Okay.
And it's all in Chinese. Do you use LibreOffice?
Okay. No. Okay. So Notepad doesn't make it right. Just right click and open with Notepad.
Oh, okay. That's going to work. I thought it was, I was assuming since it was in this format, it would be like LibreOffice would have been the right way to go.
Oh, right. No, it should be a straight up text file. So if you're seeing gibberish, then it's some sort of encoding problem. Because mine just
Notepad++.
Sure. What happens when... There we go.
So we have this one, which is half a millisecond.
Yeah.
And then we have this one, which is 31 milliseconds.
Mm-hmm.
This is 0.05 milliseconds. So this is all over the place. So you're right. Fast USB polling would probably have to be enabled.
Well, let's try that, because there's two things that could be. First of all, fast USB polling is off. You're using this jammer adapter, which I haven't used one, but it shouldn't be that much.
Well, the Mister Cade itself will add 0.7 of a millisecond of lag to it. It's annoying that I'm even using the word lag to describe that, but you know, okay. So let's
try
go back
fast USB polling, because that seems like a lot. The other thing could be that maybe somewhere something's just fucked up a bit,
and I got to just reboot it all.
I don't know, because that can also be like, you know, when you're making the homebrew project, you don't know whether it works properly or not. Kind of works, but you don't know, is it accurate? I had that, I think, a lot with this project. It's really a lot of fiddling. And again, respect to everyone who made it. It's certainly not a turnkey solution.
Okay. Odd that my controller isn't even really working. Let me unplug the...
Oh, yeah. So you mean the PlayStation controller?
No, USB controller.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right.
Which should be... There we go. Wait, something's weird.
This is kind of how it goes. You end up getting...
Oh, yeah, I have to unplug the PlayStation controller or it's going to mess with this, which makes perfect sense. Okay. So fast USB polling, just run that on.
Yep, on. And that's... Yep, it's on. And I'm fairly sure it keeps that across... will be active after reboot. Right. So now it's on. So now we're going to do the same process. Load up the NES core. Go back to the gray screen. Have you plugged your PlayStation controller back in?
Nope. Going to do that all now. Okay.
Okay, there's something. Good. XA. All right, that's...
Okay, that's exactly what we were looking for
here.
Now,
so... unplug and replug the Arduino in, then reload Putty. How do you rate this, Bob, on the scale of fiddliness of homebrew projects?
Definitely easier than using the LED, that's for sure.
Dang, those numbers are still high. I don't know if that's made such difference. So we're going to need to do more testing. Because there's something up with that result, and we don't know why they're still so high, and I think they're very similar numbers, it looks like. Oh. Hey, do you have, Bob, any generic PlayStation 1 to USB adapter hanging around there?
No.
Okay. Because I was like, what if we tested the controller going directly into the Mister and bypass the jammer just to, you know, get a baseline somewhere?
Hey, what's up, Ash? So yeah, any suggestions on this one, Ash?
Oh yeah, okay. Anything Ash writes, I got to sit and read because it's usually above me, but it's important.
Because this is the same thing, showing as low as 0.5, but as high as 32 milliseconds.
That's way too much. That's like loads too much. So when I was
also, I'm seeing latency as low as 0.14. So that's between 0 and 2 frames of variable controller latency?
This is what I mean. Like I was saying, like, if only we could just test that PlayStation controller directly into the Mister to get more of a baseline. Because I just... So while I was waiting for you to come on, I was testing random PlayStation 1 to USB controllers. And this black one here, people might be able to see, I'm dangling it in front of my screen now. It's the most generic one that you get from AliExpress or Amazon or whatever. I don't know why I have it here. This came out at average of 2 milliseconds. Average of 2. Maximum of 3.8. An Arduino will give you like the MacGyver Arduino. That will get you about 1 millisecond and up to about 2 or 3 as well. So this thing is, first of all, really nice. It has gone really well, surprisingly well. Secondly, you just shouldn't be getting like such swings. Are just not, something's not right here, I think.
So, gonna whip out the big dog then.
Dang, what's that? Oh shit. Okay.
So there's a couple of things we could do with this one. It has a direct wire, and it also has a Brook fighting board in it.
Mm-hmm. What's the native thing of, like, what was it natively before you put the Brook board in?
Who knows? PlayStation 3, I think, maybe?
Okay.
But that was gutted. It's completely gutted.
Oh, okay. So it hasn't got any original of that PCB in there.
And I should be able to use just the... Okay, this is going to be interesting. So let me unplug this thing. I already unplugged Arduino. Let me plug in USB and map it to this.
Right, so this is the lesson we've learned the first time. Do the mapping first, while everything's plugged in, get that settled, then you're going to dismantle it. So, okay, you're gonna plug this USB joystick in. Just wait, Bob. What are you looking for there? You've connected the USB to the Mister, right?
Yeah, I'm looking to see on the Brook fighting board what's the easiest place to attach these wires. So, which is pretty easy actually.
Right.
Like this works.
What I did, Bob, was I created an extra wire that will on one end screw into my Arduino, but on the other end I've put the male lugs. So the male lugs like you would have on a button. So it's got the same two lugs that a button has. So then you just unplug from the button and plug into these two. But I can see for what you're doing, maybe to screw directly into the Brooks board would work because it's got the screw holes on it.
Yeah, and it's super easy to switch between them.
Right. Yeah, sorry, Ash. I come and go. I got to keep more consistent.
What was I just going to do?
Let's go through the chat a little bit.
That's plugged in there. All right. Oh, yeah, so I want to make sure to rename that other one so it doesn't rewriting.
Yes, that log file, yeah.
Mr. Megafan, if you're saying Lewis is louder, I could turn him down a little bit.
I think it's more that I come and go as I move around a little bit. So
all right.
I'll try and keep my voice microphone at a consistent level. Sorry about that. I know.
Ash, I just saw you in Discord. Is this something you need now, or is this something I should follow up on later? I don't know. I wasn't sure if you were sending me stuff to do in the chat here or not. So just wanted to make sure. Okay, so I'm just going to double check with my multimeter, which is actually, I might be able to just, I don't know if you could, yeah, you kind of could see it too. I think I could just jam it in here.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, sure. I mean, also you could trace the wire from the button down to the board as well.
Yeah, but this is way easier.
Sure.
Way easier. All right. Fingers crossed this works.
So it's a good explanation by Electron Ash in the chat that what we're getting the Mister to do here is poll 1,000 times a second, poll the USB, which is more than you would usually expect it to be, faster than you would usually expect it to be polled. And because the whole idea with this experiment is that we are testing under the most ideal solutions, just testing the controller. All right, we're getting there with Bob. He's getting his wires plugged in. So we're just testing the controller here. So yeah, we'll poll it 1,000 times a second because we're not really here to test the USB polling. We're here to test how fast can the controller respond.
Wow.
Okay, so we're looking better there. So we need to reset.
This is exactly what I would expect off of this, to be honest with you. I mean, first and foremost, this was Arturo's old stick. So there's no chance in hell he was going to own something that was really laggy. So I knew off the bat it had to be under 4 milliseconds of latency. It looks like it is. So
you can see those numbers flowing through there. Yeah.
Let's let me open that up for everybody to see. And this is Brook fighting. Let me make sure there isn't a revision on here or something. It just says Brook fighting. So 4 and 1. Notepad. I'm pretty sure Pork already tested this too, so that's a good. We could double check now and see, but y'all are seeing that up here, right?
Wait, yes, now we see it on the chat.
So whenever I'm doing tests like this, we could see the first couple of numbers here. We have almost a frame, but I'm unplugging and plugging stuff in real time. So as I'm scrolling down, there aren't, well, there is, yeah, okay. So there are a couple random jumps in latency. But my nerd brain is telling me that this is not what you would call variable latency. They're just blips. Every couple of, so that's 474. Where's that other big one?
Yeah, you keep going down. These things can be 1 in 500, 1 in 1,000, and I agree they don't significantly affect things when you've got one random wild number. You're more likely to get this when you're using some sort of wireless controller. So when I was testing the Wavebird, then yes, it was more likely and more prone to an occasional spike. But again, like 1 in 500, and it's wireless. It's going to do that.
Hey, Marcello, how's it going? All right, so it looks like we have variable latency between 0.3 and 3.3 milliseconds.
Do you know how to use an Excel or a spreadsheet, Bob?
No. Want me to send it to you?
Sure, because I got a little system here, but it's real easy. But sure.
I'll drop both of these in here.
Wait, to the Discord?
Yeah.
All right, let me get this data and massage it and make it look pretty, and then we can maybe look at my screen or something like that.
Oh, Marcello, I may have fucked that up. I meant to say 0.3 to 3.3 milliseconds. If I said frames, then it's my bad, 100%. So
Bob did a boo-boo.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Import. I'm just like importing the CSV into Google Sheets, and then it's not too hard. Hey, Medusa.
All right, let's see. Is there anything else I could test here then? And then we could swing back around to the Behar brothers one if we need to.
Oh, the American. See, when your American system, Bob, gives me a CSV file, the decimal point is a dot, because in the Western world it's that. Over here, they often use a comma. Oh my God.
It's not our fault that it's just taking the rest of the world to keep up with our greatness here. All right. I mean, you went all the way from your fucking island in the middle of the South Pacific to up there in your cold Eastern European country. You think you could have brought a decimal point with you?
I know. I got to use these freedom numbers here. Oh wait, the freedom numbers are right. So, okay, wait.
All kidding aside, I was appalled when I got to be older and realized that the U.S. was the only place that still uses our stupid imperial system.
Hybrid. And then we'll import the other one.
So we might be able to just verify Mister Cade's latency directly if we wanted to do the exact same test on my actual arcade machine here.
I guess so.
And by doing that, what we would be able to verify that then is that what we're seeing through this Supergun is not my settings on the JAMA edge, but it actually is the chip that they have on this.
Yeah, I want to, before we make any grand proclamations about what the Mister Cade is, first of all, we're still getting this set up, because if I look at the data that you sent me, Bob, so the Brook 4-in-1 average was 1.3 milliseconds.
Right.
It did spike to 20, but the standard deviation was very small. So it's got these weird random spikes. But again, like we said, I don't think they're anything to worry about. 1.3, that's super low. But the first one that you sent me was average of 24.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound right. I don't know.
It,
I feel
it
like
would
something
sound
doesn't.
right if they never tested it. I don't mean to be a douchebag. I like Yossi. He's always been really good to me. He sent me this stuff to test, knowing that I'm going to be... Yossi doesn't send this stuff to me and be like, hey, why don't you promote my stuff and give me a good thing? He just sends it to me, and I just give him my feedback, and he knows that I'm doing it live. So it's just, you know, there's no, you know, I'm not talking shit. I'm just saying maybe he didn't test it.
Okay, so what you've got in your setup there's obviously the DE10 Nano, then you've got a Mister Cade, then you've got this jammer thing hanging off the edge. Is that right?
Yeah, so I think what we should do next is test the Mister Cade to make sure that I didn't screw up any of the settings on it.
Right. So, because, yeah, if I'm saying that our first result had terrible 24 milliseconds of lag, where do you think that's coming from, Bob?
The chip on the Hayabusa, the Behar brothers Supergun that converts PlayStation to JAMA.
Okay.
So that's what we need to verify right now. We need to verify that before I go and finish up this Hayabusa review, we have to make sure that that's actually the issue and not something else.
First of all, did Behar brothers call their thing Hayabusa?
Yeah.
But isn't that the name of... That's the Hori has that name.
I don't know. It's also the name of one of the coolest motorcycles ever made.
Okay.
I'm sure the names... I'm sure there's a million things with that on there.
Like the parts that Hori put into a lot of their sticks, I guess when they didn't want to pay Sanwa, so they made their own equivalent called Habadusa, Hayabusa, whatever it is. Anyway, Hala. So you're going to try a replacement for the Behar brothers bit. Is that right, Bob?
Yeah, I'm going to try hooking this up to my actual arcade machine. But there's going to be some... There's going to be some dropouts here as I figure out what to use. So, let me... Maybe I have a USB extension cable right here. Then I could just use that. We'll find out in a moment.
Okay. So remind me again, what was the purpose of this Behar brothers device that we were just testing? It's got a jammer edge on one end.
It's every Supergun, that, and it's similar to all of their other Superguns, which are all good. You know, there no complaints really on the rest. They could be a little bit better, but they're also very fairly priced. The big difference between this and their Shogun is that it has this PlayStation controller adapter in it. Okay. So unfortunately, that might mean that if this is the case, the one major feature that people would want to buy this for might not work the best.
Right. It definitely needs some more investigation. So this PlayStation 1 adapter, we think it's just acting like a, it does it. So it presents the PlayStation like a jammer controller or like a USB controller, or how's it presenting it?
Well, so Superguns, obviously, right? They're for using arcade boards on your home setup. And almost all of them have DB15 inputs. And this is essentially saying, instead of buying a PlayStation to DB15 adapter, just use ours directly.
Okay. So it's doing it's doing the PlayStation to jammer input conversion. That's the bit that we're a bit skeptical of.
And JAMA is literally just on and off, and that's it. So it's... Uh-oh. Are we still live? Okay, good. I touched this thing to it, and all of a sudden everything popped off, but... Mr. Mega Fan. Yeah, yes. Yes, that's why it's a little frustrating sometimes when I spend... And that's the other reason why I'm very lucky that you all are willing to do these live streams with me, because so often I'll have a post. The post itself took maybe a minute and a half to write, but it's with, 2 days worth of work in order to get there. So it's, these things take forever. So I'm gonna, just in the interest of everybody's time, I'm gonna just try to plug this thing in as quickly as possible, because it'll probably take me longer to try and get the camera set up for all of you to watch than for me to just do this. because then I'm going to go right back and retest results again. Because before I say yes or no about this thing, there's an excellent chance that I have something set wrong.
Sure. We need to keep that in our minds as well. So you don't have any other jammer adapters hanging around, or they've all got just the DP?
No, I've unfortunately had to thin out
Okay.
a good majority of my collection. So, all right.
What can we do to test? So we need another PlayStation. Go through that thing.
First, let me make sure this boots and just take your advice and get the buttons mapped first, and then get through this other stuff.
Yes. If we had, okay. This Behar Brothers device, it doesn't include any USB ports on it or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
Of course, I have some kind of configuration issue with this card, so let me just throw it in my computer real quick and go from there. Oop.
Right. So if we had another PS1 to USB adapter, then you could plug that in and at least see like, okay, this controller, when plugged directly into the Mister with this cheap adapter, it's polling very, very low. And then we poll it again through the jammer thing. Because that's a lot, the 24 milliseconds through the jammer adapter. Even if you said the Mister Cade should add, 0.7 of a millisecond or 7 milliseconds?
0.7.
0.7, okay. Right, yeah, okay.
All right, I think it was just my Mister IDE file for this one wasn't zip, but should just be a moment. Ash looked like he was talking about something smart in the chat. What about the analog input pins and the polling?
Yes, he's talking about that. A lot of this Arduino code, it's sort of polling and it's got a random delay. And to get the random number in an Arduino, it's a common thing, and this project does it, where it reads the floating point analog pins of unused pins and sort of just grabs whatever it is, and that's how it finds a random number.
Ah, okay.
So we've got to test this Behar Brothers jammer adapter with the stuff that we have there. Because we kind of want to just double check for ourselves that the Mister Cade is not adding any lag for some reason. We're really 99.9% sure it's not, but it would be lovely to show that.
Well, I actually wouldn't say 99.9% because the Mister Cade hardware is very fast. But I grabbed a random micro SD out of a random Mister I was using for testing, and that's what we're using. So we could be seeing the fact that I didn't configure the Mister Cade properly. That is completely plausible.
Okay. Hey, so Lebanese come into the chat. What are the original writers of this Arduino project, which is cool.
Hey, thank you so much for swinging by. Hopefully I'm gonna be doing you justice here and not embarrass you by screwing this up anymore, but we'll see. We'll see.
Hey,
no promises.
Since we've got Ash and Lemonisi in the chat, I have a question about the code, which I'm going to try and bring up the code. My question is, I'll bring up the code, I'll ask my question, then bring up the code. My question for you guys is, it seems to fire off with almost like an asynchronous process. It fires off. I don't understand how it's waiting for the return signal and how it correlates the sending. It seems like it just sends, and then at some stage it's receiving, and I don't understand the wait function of the Arduino and how it's waiting. GitHub download code.
Well, that's I think we have our answer. I'm gonna double check again.
Ooh.
It's a lot of zeros up there on the screen.
Mita, what are we?
We're testing the Mister Cade input itself.
Oh, okay. Yes,
I'm gonna let it go for 2,000, and I'll send you the file.
Sure, send it to me again, but they're very low.
So this is verifying that, just out of sheer luck, my settings were correct. Also, if anybody in the chat knows, do you still have to manually run fast USB polling, or is that just automatic if you've done a Mister build recently?
when you ran it, it said at the top of the screen, it says you don't have to redo it on reboot. But
no, I mean, like, if you were to build a Mister right now today from like from nothing, and you load that up, do you still need to load this, or is this just part of the code?
It's a good question, actually, when we help people to run it.
Okay. I'm going to pass this one over to you as well, Lewis, for analysis, but I think we know what we're going to find.
Sure. Cool. Download the file. Mister Cade, Mister Cade.
Ash and Lemonici, I have a question that might be really stupid, so I'm just going to open with this right now. But what I'm seeing on the Mister Cade is that we're not getting any random spikes like we did on the others. Is it possible that some of the random spikes were like on the Brook fighting, where it was averaging just about a millisecond, and then we would spike to 20? Is that possible that it's debounce, and that it's just it's the way Mister's polling the controllers will occasionally give you a random press like that? And since Pork kind of designed this with that in mind, is that why? And once again, if this is the dumbest question ever, please just tell me.
I don't think so. It sounds like it is. I mean, the question is, what is causing the random spikes, the 1 in 500, the 1 in 1,000 spikes that we see on a wired? Okay, I've got the results. So what you just ran, Bob, had an average of 0.75 milliseconds. I've never seen anything that low.
That matches Pork's 100%.
Maximum 1.3, minimum 1.2, lowest standard deviations. Wow, that's very, very low. So,
and
again,
Ash just said it's possible that the asynchronous polling of USB on Mister versus the controller might miss a button press. So you might see 2 lots of 1.5 milliseconds. You could try to mitigate that, but with respect, that's not what I care about at all. If we have a random result that says 1.5 milliseconds, cool. Random results of 20 milliseconds is what I'm afraid of. So let me power the sucker down, and then let me plug it all back in and redo the testing on the Hayabusa one last time.
So yeah, we're gonna have to, when they how to say, because if you had some random results of like 15, 20, you could just remove them in Excel, right? You could just tell Excel to chop off some outliers. The question is, how does this affect gameplay? How does it affect it on there? So if the problem is inherently in the async polling of the Mister, that once 1,000, there may be a 1 frame delay once in 1,000, but
yeah, so here's a guess, and I am the first to admit this is a guess. I could learn something new tonight, which would make me realize that I'm full of shit and I shouldn't have said anything. But my guess is that with original consoles, which means also with accurate cores, if you were to rig up something like this and create the custom software, you would see just random anomalies all the time. Not all the time, meaning like a few times a second. I mean, like if you ran this test for 5 minutes, you would most likely see a whole bunch of random anomalies because of the software, because of when things are being pressed versus not. Basically, it's not a bad thing to get a couple of random anomalies here and there.
Sure.
Once again, just a guess, but yeah, so I do agree with everybody in the chat who says maybe just drop off. If you have 1 or 2 really bad results, just forget about it, drop them off. I agree. I actually do agree with that. And also, since we're here and showing this off, I'm going to take the top off just so I could show it. I mean, the other thing to keep in mind, right? And I'm not trying to make excuses here, but the other thing to keep in mind is depending on your use case, what games you want to play, and why you have a Supergun at all, this might be totally fine because we probably used solutions for years that were laggier than this. However, if this really does have the results that it seemed like it might have before, then it's just... not something I would recommend to anybody other than casuals, because two milliseconds of variable, or no, 20 milliseconds. I gotta get my fucking words right. 20 milliseconds of variable controller latency, especially if you're playing on a flat panel or anything like that. That's something that you would notice.
It's not good. It's worrying. Because I feel like there's an expectation when you're down at that jammer level. You know, like, come on, we expect fast.
Yeah, because so many people say things like, "Oh, you're just an elitist that cares about lag, and the only people that would ever notice that are fighting game players." Well, guess who the #1 use case of buying a Supergun would be? So,
but you are an elitist, Bob. I mean, they've got a point. However, you'll have a point too.
Please, if I was an elitist, I'd at least dress better.
He's gonna
comb my hair every now and then.
Slob.
So yeah, these are the two chips. I'm not even going to bother showing them because they sanded down all of the lettering. Which, by the way, anybody that's been following anything that's happening with Bitfucks, I have no problem at all with people sanding down the chips on their devices. Even though I'm sure everybody could figure out what's what. Ash, don't say a goddamn word. But even though everybody could figure out what's what, it's just one more step the cloners have to go through.
So, sorry, yeah, just remind me, Bob, of the previous setup that had those crazy low results. So
It's just Mister Cade. That's it. It's just
Cade.
Mister Cade, but with the probes hooked up to the standard button.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. Right, so the probes were, like, you hooked directly into the jammer edge or something like that, did you? Is that how you got the signal in?
No, right onto the button itself.
Oh, the button in the thing. Yeah, okay. Yes.
Mr. Megafan, let me just drop a link here for you if you want to know the whole backstory. I'd rather not go over it all over again, but it is worth hearing if you're interested in this stuff. Go. There you go.
we got Bob fired up about Bitfunks.
Always. All right. Utility, NES lag tester. Okay, so now...
Is my mic, I don't know, Mike again, is my mic still too hot or something? Tell me, Matt Mardigan. I've been trying to keep it a consistent distance.
Why am I not able to do this?
Is the button
there we go.
Okay. Because sometimes I've got to remove, in your setup, I would need to remove the white plug before I map the buttons. I found that was a problem for me.
No, that seemed to work.
Oh, okay, sure.
So I will just add the buttons back.
Oh, I get echo, Mardigan. I don't hear any. Do you hear any echo for me, Bob?
No, but let me turn off one of these speakers there, because I don't have a headset in, and I don't want
to. Oh, that's how you're hearing me. Okay, because I'm back a bit there. But that's all right. You need to walk around the room. A wild Bob must be free.
Exactly. Anybody know where the heck I put the wire? Ash, did you fucking steal it again? Where is it? It was right in front of me a second ago. It's not here. Ah, it fell. Haha. Arduino. And then...
Huh. So I went back and I read some of the chat from Electron Ash where he was explaining the Arduino code, and I had a question about, well, there's a bit of the code that fires off the button signal, and there's the bit of the code that receives it. But as a programmer, I was a bit unsure about how it was actually sitting and waiting, and is it in a loop, or what does it do, or how does it wait for that? And now I understand what Electron Ash said, that the code, that it's when it's firing off button presses, it only fires off a test button press every 60 milliseconds or so. So it'll fire off a button press, and then just sits and waits for a return to come. And the theory is that 16 milliseconds should be enough for the result to come around. But then what happens if we have a delay of more than 16 milliseconds? Oh boy, I'm going to have to reread this a bit later. Okay.
So,
right.
I can't possibly think of any other way for us to do our diligence more than we did. I guess the best example, right? We tested Mister Cade. We got basically the exact same numbers that Pork got. They were good. So zero reason, in my opinion, to test that a second time. Whereas now this is the third time we've tested this Hayabusa adapter. It's the third time we're getting pretty bad numbers, but I can't think of any possible way for us to do this differently. I think we got it right, and I just think it's a little bit laggy.
Sure. So we've tested the Mister Cade directly into that. That works fine. It's the most simple PlayStation 1 controller. There's definitely nothing happening there. So it's this adapter. So then it would be only if there is some weird configuration or something we've missed somehow on the adapter, or some other configuration setting deeper inside of Mister that is somehow affecting that, but I'm not sure what that would be.
Getting this up just to verify here.
It's so weird as well because a PlayStation 1 encoding chip, this is not the hardest thing to do. This was already done by many people. So it's just funny that it's not a technically difficult thing, but now there's this millisecond of lag in there.
Would you mind doing your analysis, please? And I'll do it manually here just to show everybody.
No worries. Hayabusa 3. Cool.
Yeah.
I'll load that one in.
So we are seeing results from, 30 could be the highest here, as low as half. So it's 0.4.
So I'm seeing average 24.2 milliseconds, maximum 33, minimum 0.01. Wow. And the standard deviation is 7, which is pretty high. So that tells me that it's pretty evenly swinging all over the place.
Right. So a couple of things. I did have another idea. So first of all, Ash, Lemonici, Shane, thanks for stopping by, Shane, by the way. How could I explain some of these random, very low, very, very low ratings? Like that's 0.01, 0.07 below it. Also, is it any potential of the trigger buttons having more latency than the face buttons? Which, we could test that just before I give this a bad review. Might as well. Let's go back through the chat and let's see.
Can't imagine.
Collage, do I have a Haas or minigun to test for comparison? No, but what we would be then doing, we would then be testing. So a Haas or a minigun only takes the 15 kilohertz inputs. Well, all right, let me back up. The minigun only takes 15 kilohertz. What the hell? I'm sober too. 15 DB15 controller inputs, which is just an on and off switch, which is as fast as on and off could possibly be. The Haas, however, remaps controllers, but I don't know that it buffers them. So I don't have a Haas there, but I would love to double check that just in case. So the answer to your question is, unless somebody changed the design, which I don't think they did, any standard Supergun that doesn't have controller remapping in this test would only have the exact same results as the Mister Cade and nothing else. There would be zero deviation. You're right that it would be cool to test the Haas just to see how that would work, but I do not have one. to test. I gave one to Brooklyn Arcade, the one that the creator of the house had sent me. So I could certainly do more testing like this if I could borrow a bunch of Superguns or something. Shane, any good ideas for testing button press to video output total latency on modern consoles? So this is where my dev friends come in. Right now, my LED light trick should be good down to a frame. You could probably argue that you could even get it down to the millisecond, but it would be a little bit harder to do that consistently. However, if software is written, then you could do something like use an oscilloscope to measure the button press versus when there is a video change on screen, like from black to white or something like that. So that is going to get a bit more complicated. Let me scroll back through. Ash's brain hurts. Let's see, we got it. Hold on. USB polling is every 1 millisecond. Arduino thingy will be pressing every 32, but they're not in sync. All right.
So is the suggestion to, as a sanity check, in the Arduino code to change delay press to 32 so it waits a little bit longer? Again, we've got some fine test results already, but this is sort of like we're trying to give this device the benefit of the doubt.
Well, anybody correct me if I'm wrong here, but so Lemonici said bump up the delay if you're concerned about it. Why not give that a try? But is that really likely? Or is it really going to be... Because, I mean, so if we do that, right, assuming that the lowest was 0 and the highest was 24, then the lowest would be 32 and the highest would be 56. So that would be, that would make sense. But is it more likely that that is going to be the issue, or is it more likely that switching from the shoulder button to the front button would do it? I don't think that's a thing, because they're all button presses are processed through the same chip on this controller.
I agree with you. I don't think that's a thing. I suspect that the lag tester setup is fine as well. Like maybe we could change that code. I guess it doesn't take very long. I mean, if we're not prepared to call it right now and say, okay, this has got a lot of lag, then we're going to need more devices to test.
I mean,
it.
I kind of am, but I just want to make absolutely sure before I hit publish on this thing. Because, I don't mean to sound like a douchebag, but like, the thing that most people seem to forget when Lewis and I do our reviews of these things is that if we make a mistake, we're taking money out of somebody's pocket who's selling these things, and it's on us. It's our fault. So I don't want to do that, ever. And I want to make sure that I don't do that. So, but that being said, if it really is this slow, then it's that slow, and that's all there is to it.
Bob, can I ask, do you have any line of communication to the Behar brothers? Can you go back to them and say, like, hey, guys, we got this result. What do you think about it?
I can. I already asked them if they did latency testing, and they told me the chipset that they used to do this. So I don't know if they want me to talk about that, but I will go back and follow up. But I think it could just be that the project that they used to do the translation might be a little bit laggy. So Lemonici, I'm in your INO file now. Is there a very easy way to edit this? Is there one line or something like that?
Yeah, this line, Bob, it says, it's not far from the top. It says int delay press equals 16.
Yes.
Change 16 to 32.
Okay. 32. Save. Yeah, let me just save it. Okay. I'll re-download it next time I do it.
Cool. And then it'll be what? Yeah. Verify, compile, upload, blah, blah, blah.
Open. I showed this all on stream before, so I'm just going to blow through it real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm glad that I made that long and technical video about using this lag tester so that now I can just be like, bada bing, look, and now I have a result, and I don't have to explain it every time.
Okay, done uploading, and then Putty.
Reset the Arduino. Don't forget.
Load. Yep. Do you unplug and replug?
Yep.
Okay. And nope. Damn it. Wrong button.
Oh, we're seeing everything. We're seeing all Bob's super secret stuff here. Yeah. So okay. Bob's okay, so we've got some results firing off there, and we're seeing seems pretty similar. Just to stare at those numbers. So it seems that just making that small change that we thought maybe that's going to change the Arduino, the testing framework, and it's still delivering at least the first result consistently with these large lag times. So, okay.
Hey, what's up, Phil? Glad you swung by. Yeah, you know me. I don't half-ass any of this stuff.
So yeah, I guess send it over, Bob, and I can format this one for you so you can see. I mean, I've got all this in a Google Sheet actually, which I'll share after we're done here.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for it to hit 2,000 again because I just figured why not be.
Yeah. Actually, I can share it right now. What the? It doesn't matter. I've got a special sheet for all of this. Share. Let me. Anyone with link can view. Yes. Copy link. Do that. I'm going to dump that into the chat. So the Google Sheet that I've just put into the chat is what I've been using just to quickly format the data. I've got some of my PlayStation 1 adapters that I was using earlier, and then the Mister ones are all Bob's work today. So a few people are jumping in there, the Mister Cade. So the ones that are all Mr. underscore or the ones we did with Bob here today, let's rename these a little bit.
Okay, so I do want to show, real quick, I do want to show everybody what I did, both for you and for me too, because I want to be able to have this, have a record of this. So this was changed. INT delay press, that was changed from 16 to 32, correct? So I'm going to set it back to 16 now, but that's what it was. It was on 32. So when I save these results, it's going to be INT 32. Let me INT 32. And now I will show, wait, let me drop it in the chat for Lewis, and then I will show that here as well. For you, here's for me. Okay, so.
Okay, I see this here. I'm gonna this new. So this is the 32 with the 32 number. We're gonna import to the Google Sheet.
Jay, fire away, and if I miss it, then I'll please ask again.
Okay, I just updated the sheet now. So the last one you sent through had an average of 26, which is the other one was 24. The first time you did it was 24, so pretty consistent. Maximum 35, minimum 17. So we never got slow ones here.
Right. Shane, could the close to zeros have been a delay from being so long that the next reading is read it? So, like, it's trying to poll assuming that it's going to be, within 2 frames and it's going over, so that's why, or something like that. I know what you mean, Shane. I'm just not smart enough to describe it, but I know exactly what you're getting at. Ash speaks Bob. Maybe he could figure this out.
So okay, so no luck, Bob. We're seeing that whatever you do with the Behar Brothers box, that it's turning out with these 20, 24, 25, 26 average results.
So Jay's question is, would I like to see Mr. Arcade cores get updated to support pre-existing snack adapters to use fight sticks? I think, man, I'm not remembering this correctly, but I think what could happen if it doesn't already exist is just have a DB15 to snack adapter, and then now it's just like every other Supergun's input, and then you could go back to use whatever you have. Except a lot of people are wiring their arcade sticks with stuff like the Brook Fighting, which we just measured it very fast. So it's kind of easy to do it that way, but I, as you all know, am a nerd with trust issues. So I would much rather use a DB15 and snack just because I know that it's always going to be near zero. The only exception is stuff like the Mister Cade, because it's not just me testing it. Every nerd you could imagine is testing this thing, and everybody's coming up with as fast as you saw it. So
if you're using any Mister core, sorry, any arcade core, then you can use the DB15 snack, and it'll like hook in like it's hooking into Jammer or something.
yeah, except Mick Guyver's DB15 to USB is a millisecond or less, and could be used on every USB device. So it would be my strong opinion that maybe you just use that and not have to worry about any of the rest of this stuff. If you wanted to build a snack adapter, sure, but then you'd have to have something for the OSD. I really do think that the MacGyver adapter is the way to go, unless light guns are necessary for whatever reason, which I would love to see some light gun arcade cores on here, but that would really be my strong opinion, is using that open source project to get about a millisecond of latency, which really is zero, and unless you're talking about things like light gun polling, and then use that snack adapter. I would love to see like a generic snack light gun that could be used with every core. That would be kind of cool. Adam, thank you so much for the super chat. Much appreciated. Yeah. Super chats are what keep this crap going and what fund all these stupid adapters I could buy. Except this one Pork sent me for free, so thank you, Pork. Much appreciated. So I'm going to do the test one more time. I put the setting back to the way it was. And I'm also really just going to do this because I want to make sure that the next time I run this test, I don't forget to turn it back. So let me Putty, load, open.
Marcelo was asking, is there a Damon Byte adapter for PSX controllers? And I don't think there's not a Damon Byte adapter is. I think there are other Arduino based adapters for PSX, but I can't see that he has one.
Belmont, thank you as well. I appreciate that.
Oh,
another
nice.
Awesome
Good
super
man.
Chat.
Thank you, Belmont.
So we're just running this test for the 5th time now, and it should match the results of 1 through 3. I'm just being anal, and I also want to make sure that the next time I load up this test program, I don't wonder, hey, did I put it back to normal? Did I not? Should I? So, yeah.
Right, Electron. It doesn't sound right that this has 25 milliseconds of lag. So, I mean, is that it's such a straightforward conversion to do.
Yeah, Jay, I would have thought so too, but the proof is in the pudding, so to say, that we've already had, we meaning, my friends have already had a ton of tournaments using Mister and Mister Cade on arcade systems, and nobody could tell the difference between original hardware. And these are some of the best players on the planet. So that's the numbers match, the the people agree. I just couldn't think of any other way to verify it better than this. So all right.
Oh yeah, Lemonese. I did my video on that 8-bit Do arcade stick, and it's got some funny results. It's a good stick to use because it's got wired, it's got its own dongle, and it's got Bluetooth, but the results aren't quite what you would expect.
So the only other thing, is there any chance in hell that a PlayStation controller could be bad and produce these results? Should I grab a PlayStation 2 controller I have and test with that?
I tend to think you're wasting your time.
I would agree. Of
Mm,
course, Jay. Thanks for swinging by.
Nothing else. No other PS1 to USB adapters around. Okay. So whenever you got that one.
I already sent it over to you.
Oh, yep, you got it here right now. Cool.
I'm fucking efficient.
Dude, this dude's all over it. Number 5 is alive. Back to 16. Let's put that in the sheet. A 24 again. So exactly the same. This one did go down to the 0.01 again and the 32. So I don't know. Somehow the minimums. Yeah. However, the results don't lie. 24 average.
All right, well, I'm going to slowly put this thing back together. We'll answer any other questions from the chat. If anybody thinks there's any chance of this thing not actually being 24 milliseconds of lag, let me know now. But after this, the post is already done. I was just dropping my final lag test and analysis in there, so if no one's got anything, that's it.
Yeah, we would need more stuff to do a more conclusive. If you absolutely wanted to take out every little bit and retest it individually. But yeah, I mean, 25 seconds of added lag. I don't know. I mean, a frame and a bit. So variable as well. I'm not sure that's going to be a lot of fun. Publish it so people think it's impossible to test it themselves. Get more people into lag testing meticulously, so people think it's impossible.
Honestly, the other reason I've been doing these streams the way I've been doing it is because I don't want people to think this is Bob's lag testing. I want people to see Lewis and I both doing it because I want other people to do the same thing. I've been annoying some friends of mine who are developers for software projects, and I think I pissed at least one of them off a lot yesterday because I keep telling them, if you're proud of how low the latency is, you should tell people. And if you don't tell people what the latency is, I'm going to assume that you're hiding it. So what's your deal? And they're friends, so I could talk to them like that. I don't think it was private, but I don't think they were very pleased with that. But it's
guilty until proven innocent.
I mean, when it comes to latency, right? I mean, I think one of the points that most people really need to remember is that these are labeled entertainment devices. If a lot of this stuff, especially the garbage like the pound cables, if that was not labeled an entertainment device, they would be pulled off the shelves and the company would be shut down. Like if that was a medical device, like that's criminal. That's literally grounds for criminal, a criminal prosecution. They're that bad. But because it's an entertainment device, there's not much regulation other than, is there RF interference that affects other devices? Is there FTC protocol or FCC protocols that are, that's really all that matters when you're making entertainment devices. And the companies kind of know that, and they're just really hoping that we don't figure it out. It's a douchey thing to say, but it's about as accurate as it gets. So,
So if I understood what you're saying before about your conversation with the Behar brothers, they hadn't specifically tested the lag. They just got a chip that they thought would be okay.
They used a project that's out there that's it's okay to use. They didn't steal anything. The Behar brothers don't steal anything at all. But
sure.
But I don't think they had done any. They certainly didn't do anything like this. I think they were just relying on the project that they used to be good enough to use this. McGyvers, the Damon Byte adapters. I think actually I gotta just call them mix adapters because the one thing Mick asked was that if you resell them, don't call them Damon Byte because he doesn't want people to confuse his store with other stores. So MacGyver's adapters, those are the ones that I've really sworn by. Always good performance. And I believe that's what RetroCastle uses in his JAMA system. He basically uses the same circuit as right from that open source project. I could be wrong about that. I gotta remember to talk to Ivory about that. But yeah, I mean, and that's fast as well.
Right, so he's incorporating that Daemon Byte code or circuit to ensure the translation into Jammer is as fast as possible.
Exactly. Yes.
So
now,
yeah.
No, go ahead, Lewis.
No, I think what's he converting from then in his harness? What's he taking?
Who?
Retro Castle.
So it's just Gemma. It's once again that on and off button, momentary push button switch, and that's it. He's just sending those pads from each one. In fact, all Superguns, all adapters like that, they all just start by taking the controllers off the JAMA pins and read whether it's on or off, meaning, button pressed, button not pressed. That's really it. Past that, it's whatever other circuitry that you add to it. And the other thing that a lot of people do is add jumpers to map which buttons to which is helpful. It's especially helpful for things like you're going between playing Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat, and buttons 5 and 6 are reversed. Stuff like that's really really handy.
Okay.
That's why I actually wired all of those Mortal Kombat boards to Street Fighter standards and gave a Street Fighter harness with them, so that all you got to do is just plug them into a Supergun and they work exactly as you would expect. Any questions in the chat as we're wrapping this up? Lemonici, check RetroRGB.com in like 15 minutes and you'll have the full rundown on exactly what this device is. Yeah, I do really like the other features. I mean, it's about as safe as a Supergun could be. It's properly attenuated on the sync line. Basically the only way the Supergun could be unsafe is if you manually cranked the potentiometers up. That's basically it. So other than that, it would run perfectly.
Where do the Behar brothers come from? Where do they live? What nationality?
Turkey.
Oh, Turkey. Oh, right on. Had no idea. Cool.
So, are you available any other time this week, Lewis?
Yeah.
Because we have another thing going on here.
Yes. Yeah, man. Let's work it out sometime later in the week. So we're gonna do the conversion, the S video and composite converter video.
Yep. I usually don't like to announce things in advance because my life is so fucking crazy that it's I was supposed to do a stream 4 times now that I still haven't done yet, and the creator that was kind enough to offer to do it with me, and so I usually don't do anything like this, but this week, unless something crazy happens, Lewis and I are going to try to do the follow-up with Mike S's adapters and Ivory from RetroCastle's adapter for getting S video and composite out of Mister, which I'm kind of excited to see. Because I tried not to peek beforehand, but I've been using Ivory's case now with the new thing on it for quite a while, and it's pretty darn good.
So the for everyone listening, the reason that we got these two adapters is because they go about what they do in very different ways. They're trying to get S video and composite out of the Mister. And Mike Simone's adapter is using those modified S video cores that directly output S video themselves, and there's a dongle that will do the conversion into composite. Whereas Ivory's board connects directly to the Mister I/O board and does the conversion externally, does the conversion itself. So it's almost like a self-contained thing. It doesn't need the special cores to work. So in theory, Mike Simone's way should be better. But it seems like Ivory, with his just plug and play option, seems to have become very close to the goal. But we need to more rigorously look at this.
So the hope is that the original goal of S video being near identical on both is achieved. Composite will never look as good as direct generated from the cores. However, just like Lewis said, that requires the cores to change, whereas Ivory's doesn't. You just plug it in and use it with all existing cores, and that's it. So Pork has his version that he's still working on. We tested last time. That was great. But it was still an early beta, so other than I liked it and thought it performed well, I certainly wouldn't feel comfortable doing like an in-depth hardcore analysis like this, whereas like the Hayabusa is actually a product you could buy. So I don't feel bad testing it, but yeah, so far so good with that. But we'll see how the whole thing progresses across, you know, basically like the whole Mister community. Do people want these cores? Do they not? Most importantly, will adding these take away from something else? Because that's a lot of people seem to forget that there's a finite amount of space on the FPGA, and a lot of stuff needs to run through it in order for that stuff to happen.
Yeah, it's a tough one. And generating S-video is one thing, and then generating composite and good composite is almost another thing. So it's also going to come down to which one are people looking for as well, because that pure composite look might be best out of Mike's one, but that's quite a lot of, you got to get the extra cores, and someone's got to update those cores, and maybe it's not a lot of work, but nevertheless, it's still extra maintenance.
So I guess we could end this with just trying to load up a core and playing a game real quick with this controller just to see.
Oh yeah, do you feel any lag?
I mean, I'm going to be playing it right now through the OBS window, so you bet your ass I'm going to be feeling some lag here at the moment. But, wait, is this a freaking vertically oriented game? Of course it is. Of course I picked the wrong one. No? Yeah, but it's already centered, so fuck it. All right.
Oh, because you're taking the HDMI out, are you? Yes.
Yeah. All right, find buttons.
Okay.
Ash said, I just never thought I'd see a controller with that much lag. Dude, I'd be willing to bet you that if we found the old Wii converter that I used, the origin of RetroRGB, that thing would probably be horrific.
Those Wii ones are terrible. Oh, God.
What electric screwdriver is that? Nick, if you go to the Amazon store, retrorgb.link/Amazon, all of the tools that I use are there, including that cheap $13 multimeter I just got. And if it's not, let me know. That means sometimes when they switch products on the Amazon listing, they just disappear from my store, so I got to manually go back and add them in. I mean, I could say the controller works.
Yep, it's all good.
The G-Tech converter, Phil, I think is the one I'm thinking of. G-Tech, I believe.
Yeah, those Wii ones. Because there was a fight stick that I wanted. I think it was Hori produced a fight stick for the Wii, particularly for, was it Capcom versus Tatsunoko? I don't know, that fighting game that's on the Wii. But it plugged in via the, what do you call it, the bottom plug, the classic controller port these days to the Wii, and then went over the Wiimote to the Wii. And you have to think, like, this has got to be a terrible experience. Like, how it's gonna have lag going from up the nunchuck port through the Wii into the Wii. It's not going to be a good experience.
Yeah, I think RAFnet has made adapters that aren't terrible for that, and that's not obviously not a dig on RAF. That's exactly what you just described, because you're going through a bunch of protocols. But I actually think that, if I'm remembering correctly, this one went through the GameCube ports and was still ridiculously laggy. And if you take into consideration, I was playing on a plasma TV, so while that's 2 frames, I'd really, because of my whole myth-busting video, I would kind of call that more like 1 frame. And then you have 2 or 3 frames of emulation latency on the Wii Virtual Console, and then you got 2 or 3 frames on this. That would explain why I had such a horrible experience with that. I think it was the G-Tron adapter. Sounds like a fucking vibrator, but, you know, whatever.
Pull up the G-Tron. Okay.
All right, I think that's about it, right?
We're good. We're good. Well, it was a fun session. I'm glad that I feel much more confident with this project these days. I guess I've whacked around with it long enough that kind of now I know how to bug fix it. So yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. It would have taken me infinitely longer to figure all this stuff out without you walking me through it. So, very much appreciate your time. And as always, I appreciate everybody in the chat's time. I'm still sometimes very surprised that 55 people would want to sit here and watch this, but I'm grateful. So, thank you all very much. And Lewis and I will see you in a couple of days, I think.
Yeah, we'll work it out. All right. Thanks everyone for being on the stream. Thank you.